your responsibility to figure out the tax game, and only your responsibility. It's not your CPA's, it's not your attorney, it's not your tax professional. It's your sole responsibility to figure it out.
You know, I know you made the transition from 15, you know, leaving your home and then going under the kind of the wing of Mr. Williams, and he started teaching you more about money. At that age, what do you feel like was the different, like the different communication or patterns that each one had? Like, for example, one of the very first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, you know, just reading some of those principles, hearing the different, you know, languages from the family I was raised in to Robert Kiyosaki. So what was some of the different things that you heard from him?
I remember him teaching me it's not how much money you make that matters. It's how much money you keep. And that taxes are our largest expense in life. And it's your responsibility to figure out the tax game, and only your responsibility. It's not your CPA's, it's not your attorney, it's not your tax professional. It's your sole responsibility to figure it out, because it's a game. There are rules to the game. Your CPA are like the referees. And a lot of people don't know this, that CPAs are legally bound to turn you into the IRS if you admit to making a mistake. Legally bound. And so they're the referees, and they just turn you in. And so I learned at 15 years old that taxes are a big part of our life, and that become my sport of choice, was learning the tax code and learning how to play that game to where I was winning. And I personally have not paid personal income tax in a decade or longer. And when I do pay, it's, you know, a couple $1,000s. Now, you would think someone that makes 8 figures would be paying a lot of taxes, but I don't. And I don't do anything illegal. I don't write off anything that I could not withstand an audit. And I've been audited before. And this is some of the things that I teach as one of my courses, is how to eliminate your tax burden and do it ethically and legally. And I pay my fair share. It's just when you apply certain things and you understand the rules of the game, you can win. And I see not paying taxes as winning. Now, I pay a lot of property tax. We have $95 million of apartment complexes. I pay a lot of employer taxes, and I pay a lot of sales tax, but I just personally don't pay personal taxes. So that's one of the biggest things he taught me. And one of the ways he would show me was every Friday, his wife would come in to the funeral home, and it was my job to wash her car. So she'd bring her little sports car in. It was like a 280Z or something. I don't remember. But as a poor kid, it was a pretty big deal. I mean, it was a big deal then. It was a $40,000 car back then. And so she'd bring this car in, and I would wash it for her and detail the inside. And then she would take the Cadillac, go to lunch with her friends. But before she would go to lunch, Wally would give her a stack of cash every single Friday. He'd give her $2,000 in cash. And if he wasn't there, the receptionist would give it to her, and she would make the wife sign for it so that she had proof that the wife actually picked it up. Because something had happened in the past where the wife said she didn't get it, and she actually did. And so the receptionist would make her sign it out, and they coded it as petty cash. And Wally would always, whenever I'd see it, he goes, "See what I just did? I just gave my wife some cash. Guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to pay taxes on that money now." And he would always reiterate that. You need to learn the tax game. So that's what I learned.
Okay. Yeah, and I hear that awfully a lot. And, you know, myself as a newer entrepreneur, you know, just launching, you know, I'm opening my LLC within the past year or so, and learning how important the tax game is. What advice do you have to any newer entrepreneurs on exactly how to learn the game and, you know, control it in your advantage? Is it just going out there and just, you know, pretty much reading, studying, and, you know, picking up every book you can, or do you have maybe a simple system to simplify it and help to understand it a little easier?
Yeah. So outside of my course, because I actually have a course that I sell for $997 that goes over, you know, the ins and outs and how to win at the tax game. But outside of that, I would recommend a guy named Tom Wheelwright. Tom Wheelwright is Robert Kiyosaki's tax professional. And he also works exclusively with business owners. And so people can hire him to do their taxes. And again, he's a tax professional. And you want to use a tax professional, not a CPA. You have a CPA that files your tax returns. Tax professional plans for the tax returns, and then you give it to the CPA. My CPA, I've never met him. I don't even know if it's a man, to be honest with you. I've never spoken to him. I've never emailed them. I've never texted them. I literally have had zero communication with the guy that does my taxes in over a decade. Why? Because I use a middleman in between. I use a tax professional who does everything and sends it to the CPA. The CPA essentially rubber stamps it, and he's responsible for that return. But Thomas Wheelwright would be probably who I'd recommend for a book. It's a simple book. He updates it every once in a while. He just updated it for the new tax code with Trump, and it's called Tax-Free Living, I think. Let me look it up real quick for you. But that's what I'd recommend, is getting Thomas's book, Tom Wheelwright's book. It's called Tax-Free Wealth. So it looks, I don't know if you can see that there.
Okay.
You're watching this online. I just pulled up if you're listening to this, I just pulled out my phone. It's Tax-Free Wealth, How to Build Massive Wealth by Permanently Lowering Your Taxes, by Tom Wheelwright, a CPA. So he is a CPA, but I guarantee he's not the one filing your tax returns. It'll be someone else.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's super interesting, because I'm sure most people, you know, don't know that or don't realize that. So I appreciate you for sharing.